Leominster City Council Meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.
And the youth football, girls youth football, if you'd like to come in to our chambers, you can stand around behind the table or in front of the table there. Leominster Flag Football Girls League brought home a national championship. They competed down in Lakeland, Florida on January 15th, and we are certainly very proud and want to recognize you this evening. Councilor Frieda had asked if we could bring you in, and I thank the city clerk for setting that up for us. And I thank you all for attending. I know that everybody's very busy and has a lot going on. Coach, if you'd like, you can grab one of those microphones, and if you want to introduce yourself and the team, say a few words about all the accomplishments, and then I'll have Councilor Frieda do the honors of handing out all the certificates that we had made for everybody.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having us here tonight. Like you said, these girls competed in the Flag Football Life National Championship, which was one of the hardest youth flag football tournaments in the country. And they won the national championship, which was our league's first national championship. They played teams from Arizona, Florida, New York, New Jersey. And this group of girls has been playing in the Leominster Flag Football League for a long time. So Jolly, who's sitting down on my left over there, she's been playing since the first grade, since the very first year the Leominster Flag Football League was created. She's in 10th grade right now. I think Haley has been playing since she was in like the 2nd grade, and she's in 8th grade right now. So all these girls are in 8th, 9th, or 10th grade. And then a lot of them came in 2017 when the Leominster Flag League created the first girls-only flag football league in the state of Massachusetts. Wow. So a lot of them, I think, have been playing since 2017. Actually, Reese came to us in 2019, so she's like the rookie on the team, but she's been playing for 4 years. So they've been playing for a long time. Very talented group of girls. The national championship was kind of a dramatic situation where we had lost 21-0 on the first day to a team from Arizona. And then on the second day in the semifinals, we were down 12-0, which in flag football is a difficult score to come back from. But, you know, they've been playing for a long time. They have a lot of experience, so they didn't quit. They kept playing hard, and we won 15-12. We scored with 35 seconds left.
Wow.
So, yeah, so Alexa here was the tournament MVP. She made some great great plays for us to help us in the semifinals and in the championship. And we're also missing 2 girls here tonight. Angelise Alvarez, she's a freshman at St. Bernard. She's playing varsity basketball for them. And then also Alejandra Ramos, who's a 13-year-old girl from Panama and is part of our exchange program with the country of Panama. For the last year or two, we've had like a girl or 2 from Panama playing on our team. So yeah, that's the situation.
Very nice. Congratulations. We are certainly very proud. We're very proud of what you brought home here. So keep up the good work. Councilor Frieda has some certificates that she's going to that she's going to hand out that we all signed.
Can I ask, Coach, when do you start up again? When's your next season?
So our season starts in the spring. So we have a spring season and a fall season. So we start in April, and we have a co-ed league for kids in kindergarten through 8th grade that's played every Sunday. We have a girls-only league for girls in 3rd grade through high school. That's played on Wednesday nights, and then we have a high school co-ed league for boys and girls that's played on Tuesdays and Fridays.
And where do you play and where do you practice?
We play at Elio Torcoletti Field on Litchfield Street.
Yep.
And we practice anytime we can. Yeah, at that field.
Okay.
But our tournament team program, so that's our local, recreational league, and then our tournament teams, we travel all over the country. So this tournament was in Florida. We've been to Ohio, Pennsylvania. Actually, 3 of these girls went to Panama last summer and took a trip down there for flag football. So we travel all over the place trying to represent Leominster. And I think that, the Leominster Flag Football League has grown really big here in Leominster. I think it's one of the largest, if not the largest, youth sport here in Leominster. But our tournament team program is one of the biggest in the country as well. And, Leominster is known throughout the country. Leominster is known as a flag football town. When people, hear Leominster, they think flag football in our, in our circle, in our world of flag football. So, and we're really unique in that we're like a small town with teams, whereas like a lot of the teams that we play are club teams from big cities that, recruit from different places. So we're kind of unique in the flag world, but the Leominster Flag Football League is, making a name for Leominster around the country.
Coach? Sorry. Go ahead.
Excuse me. If there are kids in Leominster, both boys and girls, who don't know a lot about the program, where could they find out more information?
So LeominsterFlag.com is our website, and then we're on Facebook with the Leominster NFL Flag Football League on Facebook.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to mention, there was a 3rd place national finish, same program? Is that part of your program too?
No, it
No.
was different program, different tournament.
Yeah.
Our 15U boys in the same tournament that the girls won, our 15U boys came in 2nd place.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we also had a team recently last weekend in Las Vegas. It was a group of girls from Panama, but they were representing the Leominster Flag Football League. They won the NFL Flag National Championship on ESPN. It was at the Legion Stadium. But they're part of the Leominster Flag Football League. We had these girls come to Leominster and spend a week here and kind of an exchange program with our girls. So yeah.
Well, congratulations. Good job.
Nice.
Thank you.
Coach, is it all self-funded, or do you do fundraisers? How can the community help out?
People taking pictures. If you want to come in here for a couple of minutes, then you can get a straight photo. Up to you.
Yeah, it is self-funded. We try to do some fundraising. We did have a lot of businesses, local businesses that supported our trip to Florida and our trip to Vegas. But yeah, it's self-funded, and we don't let finances get in the way of, kids traveling. That's kind of our program motto.
Well, we're certainly proud of all of you and all that you did, and thankful for your coach. Because without coaches, you wouldn't have a team. And it looks like you got a team of friends. I mean, that's what it takes to really have a good solid team. You need to get along with each other, and obviously it looks like that worked. So I'm just going to read the first one. This is City of Leominster City Council, hereby granted to Haley Jimenez for winning the flag football Life 14 Girls National Championship held in Lakeland, Florida on Sunday, January 15th, 2023. I won't read the rest, but this is for Milena Perez. Reese Hefner. Kira Phillips. Alexa Jenkins. And Giuliani Santiago. And these are gifts to the coach. These are for, I guess, a couple that weren't able to make it tonight.
Thank you.
Councilor Odinger came in just as we were talking, so you might want to catch him so that he can sign that for you before you leave. His signature, what didn't get on there, so thank you for what you did. And we look forward to seeing more years if you could get along. How old, what is the maximum age?
So it's high school seniors, but we actually, the Leominster Flag League's working closely with the New England Patriots, and they are launching a girls' high school flag pilot program this spring that Leominster will be one of 8 schools to participate in. So that's sort of like the first step in getting girls' high school flag sanctioned as a state in Massachusetts. So the Leominster Flag League is pretty well positioned in the state to, to have a really successful team. So we kind of expect to dominate girls' high school flag in the state for a long time. That's because we're one of the very few communities, organizations in the state of Massachusetts that does have girls' flag programs. But it goes up until senior year of high school. And last year we had the first girl in New England earn a scholarship for flag football.
Wow.
So she actually went to Ayr Shirley High School, but she played in the Leominster Flag League from 7th grade until she graduated last year, and she earned a scholarship to a school in Atlanta, Georgia. So there's a lot more college programs that are offering scholarships.
I was just going to ask you that. There are a lot of colleges now that are becoming that popular.
Yeah, so last year we had our first girl. We expect a couple this year. We expect a couple every year, and certainly some of these girls, if they choose to pursue flag football, should be able to earn scholarships.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well,
And how-
again, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
How young do they start?
We have a pre-K division that starts at 3 years old. So like 3 to 5 is just,
Yeah.
it's just for fun,
Yeah.
get them running
Running
around
around.
in
Yeah.
a Patriots jersey. Everybody's on the Patriots. And,
Yeah.
and then we start competitive in kindergarten. Competitive in the sense that we keep score and
Do you-
they play actual games.
Do you have girls' teams at age 5? Do you have girls' teams that young, or are they co-ed
Our
at that
girls
young age?
teams, like our tournament teams start at like 10U.
Okay.
This year we're going to have an 8U team because the tournaments they're offering more and more age divisions for girls. So a few years ago it was only kind of 14U, and then it grew into 12U and 17, and it's really growing all over the place.
Yeah, no, you guys are impressive. This is great. Thank you.
But I did want to correct your question actually about the third place finish. We did have a team finish third in Las Vegas at the NFL Flag Championships, and that was our 12U boys.
Yeah, it's the one I was talking about. Sorry. Then
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought of something else when you asked the question. So our 12U boys team was led by Coach Ricky White. It was a huge part of our league and huge part of our family, and was really involved with the girls program. A lot of these girls were coached by Coach Ricky and really affected by his passing, and it's something that we talk about when we play for Coach Ricky, and that was on our mind in Florida. But his son's team, they ended up winning the Patriots Regional a few weeks after his passing, and then they finished third place in Las Vegas last week.
I had the honor of coaching Ricky in semi-pro. Great guy.
Yeah, he meant a lot to our program.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I didn't.
That's okay.
I forgot that.
That's all right.
When you asked the question earlier, but yeah, it was really important for us to mention that, and he was really great person, great coaching director for our program, and he made everybody in our program feel really special. So we're trying to take his legacy and move forward with that, and having all of our
Not only
coaches.
was he a great coach, but he was very coachable too.
Yeah,
He was a great
it was just great all around. You'd be hard to find anybody that
Yeah.
had anything bad to say about
Yeah, for sure.
Ricky. So
Councilor Angelini?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say, my colleague, Ward 4 City Councilor Mark Bedanza, is one of the founders of the Leominster High School Football Hall of Fame. So if you gals keep it up, I think one of these days you'll find yourself in the Leominster High Flag Football Hall of Fame. So congratulations to you all.
Yeah.
And it shows hard work pays off.
Well, football is football, so I would hope that girls' high school flag would be eligible for the Hall of Fame at some point.
Councilor Inger?
To make one comment is that NFL players played flag football a week ago this past Sunday, and I think you guys could teach them
For sure. We actually, this team just missed out on qualifying for NFL flag championships because we were missing our quarterback at the tournament to qualify. So we lost in the championship, which didn't allow us to go to Las Vegas and play at the Pro Bowl games.
Yeah.
But that's where some of our other teams, our 17U girls won the Eagles Regional, and they were in Las Vegas, and then our 12U boys were there as well, and then we had the team from Panama. So Leominster had 3 teams at that event that you're talking about.
That's great.
Nice work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Also, just one more thing, at 7 o'clock, our meeting will start, and if you have about 15 minutes and want to continue to hang around, we'll have you come in and lead us in the pledge. And we just have a couple of National Grid hearings first, and then I'm going to start the meeting at 7 o'clock, so not too much longer, and you can lead us in the pledge, and then you'll be free to go, or unless you want to continue to stick around and see local government in action, you're welcome to do that as well. So at this point, we do have 2 hearings that involve National Grid, as well as my employer, Verizon, so I will be abstaining. But the chairwoman of public service, when she is ready, can start the 6:45 public hearing and then move right into the 6:51. Madam Vice President, if you'll come and get me just a couple of minutes before 7, I'll come back out and start the meeting. Thank you.
I got too many things here, too many papers.
I'm sorry, yeah, no, that's fine. Oh, yes. You ready?
Subcommittee.
Yep, okay, I'm going to start.
Subcommittee.
Ready? Okay. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Sue Shalafu Zephyr, City Councilor at Large, Chairperson of the Public Service Committee, and this is a public hearing on petition 17-23, and it is as follows. Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA, National Grid, and Verizon New England, Inc. request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way. Chalmers Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Chalmers Street and relocate one jointly owned pole, on Chalmers Street, beginning at a point approximately 35 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Hoover Street and continuing approximately 10 feet in the north direction. Install pole number 15-02 to reconfigure services to house and reduce sag and overhead lines. Location approximately is shown on the plan attached. Wherefore it prays that after due notice and hearing as provided by law, it be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires, together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary, said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan herewith marked, Chalmers Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. So, is there anybody here who would like to speak about this petition? Do we have a representative from National Grid? Would you like to speak first, sir? Or, okay, thank you. Yep, right over here. And for the record, we need your name.
Hello? Can you guys hear me? All right. Mike from National Grid, Mike Masiag. Yeah, it's a poll petition, relocation on Chalmers Street, removing pole 4 and just relocating it to be in line with pole 1 and service pole 4-1, just to remove some secondary sag, just to string up some wires a little bit tighter. 1 pole being removed, 2 on this sketch being installed. You really mentioned most of it. It's pole petition. There's really it's just poles.
Right, but it was confusing because on the map, it shows pole number 4 as a proposed jointly owned pole, but that in fact exists. That's the one on Chalmers Street that is connected to pole number 1. So pole number 1 on Hoover, the wires go across Chalmers to this pole number 4 that currently exists. And I guess the proposal is to add pole 4-5, which is 35 feet west of that, so it's further up towards the shopping center. Is that right?
Where I think your confusion is if you look at the legend at the bottom of the sketch, just north of pole 4 is a pole to be removed. It's the symbol, kind of like a 0 with an X going through. It's kind of hard to see in the sketch. But just north of that is where an existing pole is right now, where existing pole 4 sits as is now, which does connect to pole 1. The proposal here is to remove that pole and just propose a new pole 4 in its new location, 35 feet away from it.
But the map also shows that pole number 1 on Hoover Street is connected to the proposed pole 4, but that's not the case. Pole 1 connects right now to what you're saying is the pole that is going that you want to remove.
Yes.
Okay, but that's not shown correctly on this map. It's confusing.
Okay.
And again, in order to go from pole number 1 to the proposed pole 4, this isn't really to scale, obviously, but you'd have to cross the front lawn of the 72 Hoover Street property.
Because it's not in the exact location.
That's right. No, it's way up. It's up closer to, pole number 1 is really up Hoover Street, closer in line with the property line of 69 Hoover.
Okay.
It's further back, so when going across the road to either 4.5 or the proposed pole 4, you'd be crossing, National Grid would be crossing somebody's private property.
Okay. I can take down all your questions now and get answers for you later.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
I am not the designer for this. I'm just representing the design
Sure,
right
yeah.
now.
Okay.
But I can definitely reach out. Connor Reynolds, he is actually the designer for this work request, so
Okay.
I can reach out to him and get these answers for you.
That would be great. That would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Sure.
Hello, I'm June Portemouche. I live at 72 Hoover. Looking at the map that they sent here, they show pole 1 to be kind of at the bottom of Hoover Street, but it really isn't. It's in the middle of where my house is. And if they move pole number 4 to the west, 35 feet, then the lines are going to go across my front yard. And I don't really like that idea. If it's sagging and the pole is crooked, I don't know why they can't just replace the pole and do what they originally had done with the pole when it was first put in. I know that the pole in front of my house had been there a long time, and I called once because I thought it was sagging, and they came and they replaced it right away. We've owned this property. My husband's grandfather built the house. And I don't really want, excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me, my husband just passed away.
So sorry.
And this is his family house, and I don't want wires going across the yard. Please excuse me. I can't talk right now, but that's my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Kutamash, for coming and for, speaking in the public forum. It's really important to hear from, homeowners who would be impacted by these kind of pole changes. People don't realize that sometimes these can have a really, serious impact on neighborhood properties. So thank you very much. Is there anybody from the City Council that has any questions? Councilor Frida. Oh, sorry, Pete.
For either June or the electric company, did you speak to June prior to the proposal to do this poll? Did you have a conversation with the homeowner?
Me personally, no,
Or if it's not your design, did somebody have a conversation?
I just got a letter this past week that was addressed to my husband, and it just said it was concerning a pole on Chalmers Street, which, when I look out my window, it's not on my side of the street, it would be across, so I didn't think it impacted me. And it said the enclosed plan, but there was no plan enclosed. So I didn't find out until today that it was going to go across my front yard. My house I live near the Kmart, or the former Kmart shopping plaza, and those apartments are at one level, but my house is on a hill, so mine's a lot higher. So those wires would be closer to my yard than they would be anybody else because living on a hill. And I don't think my husband would have wanted it either.
Madam Chair, just for my opinion, I want to go up there and look at it before we do anything on this.
Certainly. Yep. Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mike, could you go back up to the podium for a minute, please? Thank you. First of all, for the record, I didn't get your last name.
Masiag, Maciag.
Okay.
Yep.
No, I went by this as well, and obviously, do you know if you guys can't put wires across your property without an easement, obviously?
Correct. That's not National Grid practice. That's an aerial trespass.
And so I'd like to at least put this poor woman at ease there. And secondly, when you do come back with those answers that the chairwoman asked you to provide, would you also make a note if they intend to put any guy wires
Correct, yep.
associated with any of these poles?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you. I'm sorry. I guess in going back to Mr. Reynolds, who did the design, I noticed that the pole, I think that is the problem, is leaning. So, I mean, that can probably be fixed. If there are wires that are sagging because there's too much load on that one pole, that pole just needs to be straightened up. Maybe it needs to be replaced.
Depending on what size pole it is and the current standards we work to now, once we touch something, we have to bring it up to standard, current standards. But yeah, maybe it could be as easy as a fix. I can get these answers for you.
Good.
I guess what this all comes down to is the confusion of the pole location. National Grid doesn't have a practice to go over aerial trespasses over private property. I don't think that was intended. So yeah, it's a good idea to have a second look and just get confirmation, revisit this another time.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chairwoman?
Yes.
If I can interrupt you.
Certainly.
Just briefly, we have about a minute here, so I'm going to ask for the City Council President to come back into chambers, and we can start the meeting.
Yep. Before he does that, I should.
Are you ready to report at this point, or?
No, I want to think about it. No.
Just keep the public hearing open.
Keep the public hearing open at this point.
Okay, why don't we address that? We'll do this, and we can address that.
After we open the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, girls, if you'd like to come in once again and stand in front of the table. In just 1 minute, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and then you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance as well. Okay, the time is now 7 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order for the Leominster City Council for February 13th, 2023. Will you all please stand and join me in the girls' youth football for a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, girls, thank you very much. Congratulations, and you are definitely have made us all proud. Keep up all the good work. Keep working hard, and you'll always be very successful. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to take a roll call of the counselors in attendance, beginning with Counselor Bedanza.
Present.
Counselor Cormier.
Present.
Counselor Ardinger.
Present.
Counselor Angelini.
Present.
Counselor Brady.
Present.
Counselor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Present.
Counselor Frida.
Present.
And I am present. There are 8 members present. Madam Vice President, do you have any records to approve this evening?
Mr. President, I'm going to ask that we continue the approval of the records out to the next meeting. There was a couple of typos, and a couple of counselors have mentioned a few little corrections, so we'll get that to the clerk, and hopefully we'll have them ready to go in the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. We will address the January 23rd, 2023 minutes at the next meeting, so we will have that on the agenda again. At this time, I would ask that to entertain a motion for a recess so we can continue the National Grid hearings. Councilor Bedanza, seconded by Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr. All those in favor of going into recess, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0. The council does stand in recess, and I will step back out. Thank you.
And I will step in and turn it back over to Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam President. So at this point, we'd like to leave the public hearing open, and there are numerous questions, I think, for the National Grid gentleman to address. I do want to, at this point, though, read the DPW referral into the record because I think it raises another issue that National Grid may want to address. So it's regarding petition 1723, Mass Electric Company, DBA, National Grid, and Verizon New England request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way: Chalmers Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Chalmers Street and relocate one jointly owned pole on Chalmers beginning at a point approximately 35 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Hoover Street and continuing approximately 10 feet in north in a north direction. Install pole number 15-02 to reconfigure services to house and reduce sag and overhead lines. And the letter reads, Dear Caitlin, the Leominster Department of Public Works has reviewed the petition to install a pole on Chalmers Street and offers the following comments. The DPW has concerns that locating jointly owned pole 4 is going to result in an aerial trespass over 72 Hoover Street. There is also a 48-inch drain line that runs along the sideline of Chalmers Street and discharges behind 13 Chalmers. Please let me know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Raymond Racine, DPW Director. So in addition, there are some concerns about a drain line that runs along Chalmers Street that you just might want to make sure Mr. Reynolds considers.
Absolutely, yep.
All right. Thank you. Thanks very much. So at this point, we will leave the public hearing open.
Okay. We don't have to vote for that, do we? Okay, so just leave it open. So 18-23, I'll turn that over to Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Thank you very much. Yep. So Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA, National Grid, and Verizon New England request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Elm Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Elm Street, beginning at a point approximately 275 feet west of the center line at the intersection of Hill Street and continuing approximately 30 feet in a south direction. Install pole number 54-5 for a new underground service. Location approximately as shown on the plan attached. Wherefore it prays that after due notice and hearing is provided by law, it be granted a location for and permission to erect and maintain poles and wires together with such sustaining and protecting fixtures as it may find necessary, said poles to be erected substantially in accordance with the plan filed herein marked Elm Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. So would you like to address this as well for National Grid?
Correct. This is a new pole, service pole 54-5, really to serve a new customer at 596 Elm Street for an underground secondary service.
Okay.
In the public right-of-way, yep.
Sorry?
In the public right-of-way, yes.
Just look proposed. Right there. Okay. All right, I don't really have any questions. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to speak relative to this petition and this pole placement? No? I don't really have any questions about this. I mean, I didn't, have any feedback from any of the abutters, any of the neighbors. So is anyone here on the council have any questions or? Councilor Brady.
We did get an affirmative from the DPW on that one, right? So
Yes, yes. We sure did. I can read that into the record as well. Let's see. Again, this is a letter from the Leominster DPW to Ms. Caitlin Hufflin, our city clerk, regarding petition 18-23. Massachusetts Electric Company, DBA National Grid, and Verizon New England, Inc. request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way: Elm Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Elm Street beginning at a point approximately 275 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Hill Street and continuing approximately 30 feet in the south direction. Install pole 54-5 for a new underground service. Dear Caitlin, the Leominster Department of Public Works has reviewed the petition to install a pole on Elm Street and offers the following comments. The DPW approves the petition as submitted. Please let us know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Raymond Racine, DPW Director. So the DPW weighed in. They don't have any problems with it, so I have no further questions. And I'll go to my committee. Councilor Frida, do you have any questions about that? No? Councilor Brady? No. You're good? Okay. All right, then, given that there's no controversy, no questions, no issues, I will close the public hearing on 18-23.
And the public hearing is, I'm
What?
sorry.
No, I did have a quick question.
Go ahead, sorry.
Has anybody been spoken to? Is this affecting any neighbors up there? Do we know?
Don't mind me, let me just pull up the sketch. No, the only one this is really affecting is 596. It's a secondary service to them.
Yep.
Again, it's public right-of-way, it's not on any private property, no aerial trespasses.
Okay. And you're good? All right. Okay, so
Okay, hearing nothing further, the public hearing will be closed. And we have that's all we have for the public hearings.
Yep.
And do we have President Cormier back up?
Okay, can you go get the paper for the public forum? Before we go back into session, we're going to hold the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on any matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding to or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. Nobody has officially signed up, but I will ask, would anybody in the audience like to speak at the public forum? If so, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Once again, would any member of the audience like to speak at the public forum? And for the third and final time, would any member of the audience like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I now declare the public forum closed. And at this point, we will be back in session, and we will move right into communications from the mayor, beginning with C-42. Madam Clerk.
C-42, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $32,163 be made to the Cemetery Capital PY-Building Rehab account, the same amount to be transferred from the Cemetery Perpetual Care account.
And C-42 will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-42 has been given regular course. C-43.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $9,000 be made to the Police Department expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund.
And C-43 likewise will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Similarly, first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-43 has been given regular course. C-44.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $7,100 be made to the Collective Bargaining Contract Services account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund regarding assessment center for the police chief.
And C-44 will also be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Regular course.
C-44 has been given regular course, and we have a resolution, C-45.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council support a resolution to adopt the City of Leominster's final hazard mitigation plan.
And C-45 will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, Mr. President, and I believe we have the mayor coming in at our next meeting to fill us in and to answer some questions on that, so.
Absolutely. So that'll be on our agenda, I think, an informational thing prior to the meeting, Madam Clerk. Okay, so that we will regular course that and expect to have a presentation before the next meeting. Moving on to appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council approve the attached membership of the School Building Committee for Fallbrook Elementary School.
And this item will also be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
First time on the agenda, regular course, please.
And this has been given regular course. And we have another two appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of the following individuals to the Zoning Board of Appeals, term to expire April 15th, 2026. Mark Pishoni, 35 Oakland Hollow Road, and Susan Kohler, 541 Miriam Avenue, both from Leominster.
And this will also be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, please, and we can schedule interviews at the next meeting at 6:45 p.m.
Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, you will notify these individuals of that, and we will have them at 6:45 p.m. and give this regular course. Moving on to, we have another appointment.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Robert Sicard, 261 Granite Street, Leominster, Mass., to the Conservation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2026.
And this will also be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, please, Mr. President, with a invitation to come down for an interview at the next meeting at 6:50.
Okay, Madam Clerk we will give this regular course, and she will set up that interview as well. We have a suspension of the rules and an emergency preamble that we must deal with that you all got a copy of, should have gotten a copy of. So at this point, we have C-46. Madam Clerk, I think I'll have you read it first, and then I'll ask for a vote to suspend the rules.
C-46, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $20,000 be made to the Building Department expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund.
Okay, so first we'll have a vote to suspend the rules. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the rules have been suspended. At this point, this item is going to be referred to the Chair of Finance, and I'm just going to ask Mr. Chair, before I take a vote to accept this as an emergency preamble, if you'll just give us a very brief description on the nature of the emergency.
Sure. As you indicate, I'll bifurcate this and talk just about the emergency preamble aspect of it. It involves the partial collapse of a building which directly threatens the health and safety of the public, and as a result qualifies under the charter for an emergency preamble. And I ask you to poll my committee and check with their position on the emergency preamble, and then entertain a vote of the council.
Okay. Councilor Cormier, do you agree? Councilor Angelini? Okay, so at this point, we will have a vote to accept this as an emergency preamble. All those in favor of accepting this as an emergency preamble signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, this has been accepted as an emergency preamble. And now I will refer C-46 to the Chairman of Finance. Are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. As I indicated just a minute ago, this involves a building on June Street in Leominster that has partially collapsed. It's a industrial building. This has involved our fire department and our building inspector. I do have a letter dated today's date from Peter Nile, our building commissioner. Dear councilors, we are requesting that the city council approve $20,000 for the partial demolition of 29 June Street. At the request of the City of Leominster Fire Department, I went to the address referenced above to inspect unsafe conditions on the property. While doing a visual inspection from the road, I found that the roof on the south end of the building had collapsed on or around February 5th. The pressure, the collapsed roof, and wind forces has now caused part of the wall to collapse onto June Street. This presents an imminent hazard to the public, but also this is about a quarter of a mile from a school and presents an attractive nuisance for any children walking by. Therefore, we have given the owner of the property until Wednesday, February 15th, to apply for a demo permit and start the demo process. If he does not start the process, the city will step in and make this site safe. We estimate the cost will be around $20,000 to demo the most unsafe portion of the building. I also had a conversation this morning with the fire chief about this particular building. This building has plagued the city for a little while. It's been a problem, and the owner has not been very responsive to orders from the building commissioner. Frankly, we're not anticipating the building owner's compliance with the most recent order of the building commissioner to commence demo by 2/15, but this isn't a situation where the city can sit by and wait. As indicated, it presents a very significant hazard to the public, and the plan is to go in and demo, stabilize the building, the most significant threat, which is the south side of the building, by demolishing that section of the building and leaving the material in place. I fear that this will be back in front of us in the future for additional monies if the building department can't get the building owner to cooperate. But this is sort of at least phase one in addressing this particular problem, and as indicate, it's a significant hazard. I believe the street's closed right now as well. So I would be strongly in favor of granting this C-46, and ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay. Councilor Cormier.
I echo what the chairman has said. This is in my ward. I've been by there. I was actually there when they've had the first incident and thought it looked terrible then. There's a lot of kids. The weather's been nice. There's a lot of kids that are using the skate park, and guess where they walk? Right by this area. So I agree that it's a safety hazard. It's an attractive nuisance to any of the kids in that area, and I fully support this, to get this taken care of as soon as possible.
Okay. Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement as well. This is certainly a public safety hazard, and it needs to be addressed. So I support it as well.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of C-46. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida.
I assume through the chair, I assume you're going to place a lien on the property?
Oh, yes, of course.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-46 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-46 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President. In order the sum of $20,000 be appropriated to the building department expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order, please signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the order for C-46 has been adopted. Moving on to matters before the City Council. Mr. Chairman of Finance, do you have a financial report?
I do. We started the fiscal year on July 1st, 2022, with a balance in our stabilization account of $20,675,366. Since that date, we have transferred into the account interest in the amount of $61,550, leaving a balance of $20,736,916. We have reduced the account through tonight, including the last appropriation to a total of $3,918,923, leaving a balance of $16,817,993, and that is the financial report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Is there any questions or comments on the financial report? Councilor Frida.
Not directly related to that money, but I just noticed, we probably all did, that Mayor DiNatale just recommended or sent to the council for appropriations for the remainder of his ARPA money to do Crocker Field and part of the library that they're building. I know it has to be committed by 2024, but can we get a summary of, if there's, what we're going to do with the second half of the ARPA money, how much we got, how much we're going to build, and have we had any discussion or any report on free cash yet?
No, but I will make the call to the comptroller. I was going to ask her that. I think I heard that some moving parts. I think we're not too far away from that. But I will check with her on the status of our free cash, as well as the status of a report to us on the ARPA funds.
Because it was certified on February 3rd.
Right.
I mean, we have 14 million in free cash. I'd like to kind of get an idea what, if Jen, maybe we could have Jen Reddington come down and see what they're talking about doing with the ARPA money.
At a minimum, I'll get a report. So, thank you.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments on the financial report? Okay, seeing none, we will move into the items under finance. There is one item, C-40. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. C-40, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests an appropriation of $51,536 be made to the Police Department Replacement Equipment Account, same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund. There's a letter from the Police Chief, Aaron Kennedy. Dear Mayor, we are actively in the process of hiring, currently have several conditional offers issued to prospective recruits. This process is fluid, and we are hoping that all offers become actual recruits in an academy. With several current vacancies, we will be in this process for a minimum of 2 rounds of hiring, which our current budget cannot absorb. We will need to outfit each individual recruit with required equipment that is specified by the training academy that the recruit attends, making the appropriation a necessity. The additional attachment to this request lays out specific items for purchase. So they have a budget for this, but there's not enough money to support all these potential recruits. And I spoke to Chief Kennedy about this, and it's broken down. There are, the cost of the academy itself is $3,200 per recruit. So this is set up for potentially 6 recruits, and then you have a whole bunch of things ranging from a blue gun, which is something they use in the academy for drilling, firearm, handcuffs, baton case, so on and so forth, vest, which is one of the more costly items, which is $1,157 per person. So it all breaks down to $51,536 that he's going to need. We all know how short-staffed they are and how important it is to be able to move on these recruits, and it would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-40 and make sure the police department's in a position to equip the recruits as they come on board.
Okay. Councilor Cormier, are you in agreement?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
Well, I had a conversation with the chief myself a while back, and he's really struggling to shore up the department. He's getting creative. I mean, I know they've got a couple of lateral transfers that look like they may be coming through, so I certainly want to be supportive and give him the resources that he needs to get the department fully manned, so I will be supporting this as well.
Okay. All right. So it's a unanimous recommendation by the Finance Committee to grant C-40. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-40 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-40 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, Mr. President, in order that the sum of $51,536 be appropriated to the Police Department Replacement Equipment Account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yay.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the order for C-40 has been adopted. Moving on to items under legal affairs, C-41. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Yes, I am, Mr. President. C-41, D.J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the council authorize, let me turn on my mic, authorize the appropriate departments to research, develop, and participate in a contract or contracts to aggregate the electricity load of the residents and businesses in the city and for other related services independently or in joint action with other municipalities, and authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary to accomplish the same. Excuse me. I know that we had a request and we invited the mayor down this evening. Unfortunately, I think some of the folks that he intended to bring with him, that he's been working with, weren't available. So I was told that they plan to come down for our next meeting on the 27th, and I think the clerk is nodding in agreement. So at this time, Mr. President, I would recommend further time.
Okay. Councilor Bedanza, are you in agreement?
I am.
Okay. And Councilor Deacon is not present, so it's the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give C-41 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving C-41 further time signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-41 has indeed been given further time. Moving on to items under public service, 17-23 and 18-23. Once again, I am required to abstain from these items. Both of these pieces of infrastructure are partially owned by my employer, so I will be stepping out, and I will ask the Vice President to take over the meeting for these two items.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to turn this over to the Chairwoman of Public Service, Councilor Shalafo Zephyr, for your report on 17-23.
Thank you very much. 17-23. This is a question for the clerk. Do I have to read this whole thing in its entirety again? Okay,
No.
good. So we had a public hearing earlier this evening, and there were several questions that we had for the National Grid representative, Mr. Masiag, who will go back and get those questions answered for us. So my recommendation at this point would be to keep the public hearing open, to give this further time. And I would ask you, Madam Chair, if you would check with my committee members.
Thank you, Councilor Frida.
I agree.
And Councilor Brady.
Agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Public Service Committee to leave the public hearing open and reschedule. I believe it's going to be on our next hearing date.
Do you want it for the next hearing date? City Council meeting, I apologize, on the 27th, or do you want to push it up to the 13th of March? I don't know how quickly National Grid will be able to turn around.
You can get it.
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Okay, then the 27th then?
Yes. Yep.
And I would recommend 6:40 PM.
Then I would, so on the 27th at 6:40 PM, and all those in favor, please signify in the usual manner. And by a vote of 7-0, the public hearing has been continued, and the matter is continued to February 27th at 6:40 PM.
Do we have to vote on further time as well?
I think we just did.
I think that was for the further time.
Okay, all right.
It's-
Okay, bundled it. Okay, that's fine,
bundled.
that's fine. Okay, just wanted to clarify.
And Madam
Thank you.
Chairwoman, 18-23.
Certainly. 18-23, Massachusetts Electric, I'll just read the top part of this. Electric Company, DBA National Grid and Verizon New England request permission to locate poles, wires, fixtures, including necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way, Elm Street. We also had an earlier public hearing on this, and given that this is a secondary service to an existing service for a home up on Elm Street, there weren't any questions from the neighbors. It's very straightforward. There were no questions from the public. My recommendation would be to grant 18-23. And Madam Chair, I would ask that you poll my committee.
Counselor Frida?
I'm fine.
Counselor Brady?
I agree.
Okay, that's the unanimous recommendation of the Public Services Committee to grant 18-23. All those in favor, please signify in the usual manner. By a vote of 7-0, 18-23 has been granted.
Great.
And I'm going to ask our president to return to us.
Thank you very much. At this point, we will move into new business. There are no items on the agenda. Does anybody have any new business? Seeing none, we have some old business to handle. We have a second reading of an ordinance, which is formally petition C-35. Is the Chair of Legal Affairs ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. This is C-35. If you recall, this is the second reading of an ordinance for our advanced life support ambulance, which is already saving lives in our community, and I think it's a wonderful thing. So without further ado, I will read the second reading. In the year 2023, an ordinance be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 8 of the revised ordinances entitled Fire Protection, Section 8-19, Fees for Ambulance Service is hereby amended by deleting the second sentence of Section 8-19A in its entirety and inserting in its place the following. The rates to be established shall be the local or city limit charge or other city and town charges for ambulance service set at current recommended allowances as set forth by the Medicare program, plus an additional 250% of such charges for basic life support, BLS, service, and an additional 250% of such charges for advanced life support, ALS, service. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we adopt the second reading of the ordinance, and I would ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Bedanza.
I'm in favor.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the second reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger. Yay. Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The second reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Is there any other old business to come before the City Council? Seeing none, anything under the community calendar? Councilor Bedanza.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the long course of Leominster High School football, there have been 3 Leominster High School graduates that have played in the NFL. Lou Little in 1920 and 1921 when the league was brand new. In 1941, Ronnie Cahill played for the Chicago Cardinals for 1 season. And since last year, the most recent entrant, Noah Gray, is a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. I know you all join me in congratulating Noah for not only having a productive thus far NFL career, but becoming a Super Bowl champion last night. Who would have thought that someone from Leominster High School would end up with a Super Bowl ring someday? So it's a tremendous accomplishment. Noah is a tight end on the offense, for those of you who don't know. He also plays special teams, and he spends a lot of his playing time on the field. He did make 1 reception last night, but he's also contributes in many ways as a great team member with key blocks, both on the first touchdown I remember seeing and also on the special teams long punt return. But that's only part of the story of Noah Gray. I've had a number of conversations with people around the community about Noah because of my interest in football generally. And I can tell you that Noah does a camp for our local children each year at no cost. No kid is left out of it. No kid is left behind. And by word of mouth, a family from Indiana learned about this camp, and their young boy who suffers from a rare disease that requires him to go to Chicago a couple times a month for treatment, learned about this camp, and they flew out here to participate in it. And when Noah found out that this young man was a big fan of his who just really wanted to get some things signed, he not only signed the young man's memorabilia, but he also spent a half an hour playing catch with him before the camp. Wow. And took the kid under his wing. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of what kind of a man Noah Gray is. I also got a message from a fellow who has twins in the life skills program. And I've also learned that during his high school days when he was here at Leominster High, he spent regularly his lunch hours having lunch, not with his direct peers, but with kids in the life skills program, and developed a significant relationship with a lot of those kids. And one of the fathers wrote to me and said to me that he was the parent of those twins and indicated Noah has been good to those life skills students, and he always takes a minute to answer their texts. And yes, he even takes their advice. He just texted with them the other day. Last season, their birthday fell on the Sunday of Noah's bye week, pretty much a treasured day off for any NFL player. The boys were watching one of the other games when the phone rang, and it was Noah wishing them a happy birthday. We are all very proud of this young man, and I am pretty confident in 2 weeks Leominster will be celebrating their first Super Bowl champion. And that tells me, something that there are a lot of athletes out there that participate at a high level and are elite athletes, and that's what it takes to be where he's at. But not only are they great athletes, but they're better men. And in this particular case, we can really be proud of this young man, Noah Gray. So I just wanted to mention that, Mr. President. In addition, a much less recent issue, but somebody we can also be proud of in this community is Francis Drake, who was an abolitionist back in antebellum America before the Civil War and operated a stop on the Underground Railroad in Leominster, the only confirmed stop on the Underground Railroad by the Department of Interior. Years ago, the city bought her house, renovated the outside of it, and recently we are in the process of completing renovations on the first floor. Back in February 16th of 1851, she helped rescue the first test case under the Compromise of 1850's New Fugitive Slave Law, a fellow named Shadrach Minkins, who draws international attention. I've actually given interviews about this case and Mrs. Drake to radio stations in Canada and a TV station that operates in Europe. That law didn't have the intended effect to keep the Union together and keep the slave owners of the South happy about their slaves, keeping them in slavery. But in fact, ultimately led to the Civil War. It had the opposite of the intended effect. So it is, without a doubt, the most historical thing that ever happened on Leominster soil. But the story goes further, because not only was Mrs. Drake a committed member of the Underground Railroad, but she was a tireless advocate for racial and gender equality. Gender equality in the 1850s was more radical than freeing slaves. Not even other abolitionists believed in gender equality, nor racial equality for that matter. So she serves as a towering example of moral courage to us today, and we should be beyond proud to have her as a part of our history. On the 18th of February, this Saturday, from 1 to 3 o'clock, we'll be having an open house at the Drake House, which is located at 21 Franklin Street in Leominster. The Office of Emergency Management will be there serving complimentary coffee and hot chocolate. I will be giving tours of the house. At the suggestion of the mayor, we have kicked off a Friends of the Francis Drake House to help raise some money to keep the project going, as well as for people to volunteer some time. We're going to have some sign-up sheets available there, and if people are interested in donating time, they can also contact me directly. We would encourage as many people as possible to come and hear the detailed story of Mrs. Drake on Saturday the 18th. The Leominster Historical Society kicked off the first donation to the Friends of the Francis Drake House with a donation of $10,000, which is going to help towards the painting and final finishing of some of the plaster over there on the first floor. which is a tremendous donation to get us started. And some of my fellow council members and others in the city have also stepped up to the plate with donations. And the public in general is free to do that, and we'll be making an effort to raise some money. And awareness of this fine piece of history we have, it belongs to us all. And we all want to make sure that we share this heritage as much as possible. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Councilor Bonanza. And, it's good to see the Drake House moving forward. And it's usually probably a rough time of the year to organize anything there. But fortunately, we've had a very mild February so far. So hopefully there'll be a nice turnout there.
It was a mild February when she made the rescue in 1851, too. It was raining and warm.
Nice. And certainly very proud of our girls that we're here tonight.
Absolutely.
And our own Noah Gray. It definitely makes us all proud to be from Leominster. No question. 2023 has been off to a very good start for us. Anybody else have any questions? Councilor Frida.
So, or on the point of celebrities, we don't want to forget Vinny Alea as well for being on the next level chef. Although I think he cut his finger and had a little bit of an issue, but he's. I had a board. I'm a trustee at Mount Wachusett Community College, and we had a board meeting Thursday, and I didn't realize he was a pretty active member of the college and taking a number of courses up there during the pandemic. And the dean of students couldn't say enough about him and his personality and just his whole attitude. So there are a lot of people watching Leominster and a lot of good things happening. So, just to add that, and job well done by everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I graduated with Vinny. He's always been a character, and I just shook my head when he sliced his finger last night on the show. I couldn't believe it. But he recovered. The medics came, they bandaged it up, and he kept right on cooking. I think he was cooking tuna, was what he had selected. So, yeah, we're very proud of him as well. Anybody else have anything else under the community calendar? It's good that we are so busy with so many good things to report. Seeing none, I will ask to entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor Angelina, I say your hand first, and then Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, I'll let you second. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, we are now adjourned. Thank you all very much.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com and by Avidia Bank at www.avidiabank.com.